Okay, this is going to be an update from my other video, which was rendering wireframe using mental array. We were using 2015 in that version, and it was showing you how to get into your other sampling options so that mental array would still render the contour. Everything was working fine, but I think since a few different updates, we've come across an issue where when you're rendering, everything seems to be going fine, and then just all of a sudden, out of the blue, for no rhyme or reason, all of a sudden it just won't render anymore. And what you'll end up with is something similar to this. We have the very first image that comes out in the batch that works, and then suddenly all of the next series of images, they're all missing that wireframe. I've done a little digging, and I think I've figured out what the problem is, and I wanted to make sure that everyone is able to see the steps necessary to make sure this happens. Now, this is a brand new scene. This is using Maya 2016, and so what we're going to do real quick, we're just going to create a new render layer so that all the objects that we have here, they all have individual shaders. So I want to be able to render that just with the wireframe, so I'm going to use an override, and so I'll just go ahead and name this wireframe render. And then I have two options. I can either go into my hypershade and assign a shader to these, or I could just do an override. So if I come over here and override, anything I add into this layer will also get this new shader because it's attached to the override layer itself instead of the object. So I'm just going to come over and say make a new material. So I'll just grab any Lambert, really doesn't matter at this point. And then I'm going to open it up inside of the hypershade. So there is the new shader that I have. And we can test that out just to make sure that that really is the correct one just by doing that. Yep, sure is. Now, in the other version, when we were doing the wireframe, we came over here to this little SGI node. We came over to mental array, and we turned on contour rendering. And then we made sure that it was a smaller line. We could choose what kind of color we wanted the render lines to be. And then we came over into our render settings, made sure mental array was turned on, and with the advanced settings turned on, I'm going to slide all the way down to where it says contours, say enable contours, open this up, and then turn on the first two options. Now you can see here it even tells you the contour rendering isn't going to be supported by the unified sampling. No problem. Just going to come over here to where the sampling options are, open up the legacy, and change it from unified to legacy sample. So now that I have the legacy sample, I'm going to go to the max sample level. Notice that this says -2 to 0. This really isn't the quality that we're looking for. We're going to boost this up to minimum 0 and the maximum of 2, which means that the most every pixel is actually going to be sampled is up to 16 times. So that's going to give us something that hopefully will look good even when it's full HD. Alright, so there we go, have our wire, everything looks fine. If I wanted to change the thickness of my wireframe, I totally could, but then I would just go ahead and start batch rendering. Now, here's the problem. Back inside of this, like I said, sometimes it works, no problem, and then other times it's a serious issue. A lot of my students have had trouble left and right with this, and I think the solution, as stupid as this seems, is to create a contour shader. You can see that's right here, and just assign it into the custom shader attributes. So I'm going to scroll down. Notice that the last one in this option, remember, we're still inside of the contour options, right? So same place, we're just inside of the custom shaders just below it now. So I go to contour shaders, I'm just going to grab the simple, and then I'm going to just drop it in to that. Okay, so we dragged it in. Contour shader is now in there. We can see the connection here, and now we can test it out. And there we go. Now we have this, and it's looking okay. Now, like I said, we can still come in here and manually change these options. All right. So now that I see this is working, what I'm going to also do is just come over to my shader. Just drop that down. So that now what we get is only the wireframe itself. Okay, so this is more than likely going to solve any render problems you might have had in the past. Again, you have to make sure that the quality is high enough, the width that you're trying to render it is correct. But when you actually start doing your batch renders, keep an eye on it. Don't assume that 500 frames later you're going to get everything you need. Make sure that you actually watch the render. By the 4th or 5th frame, you should actually know whether or not it's working. So good luck and have fun.